Hey guys, in this Effect House tutorial I want to show you how you can create a simple eating game like this with a timer, so we can eat the objects which are falling down on the screen, and yeah, when the timer is at 0 we will have a game over end screen. I have created some subgraph assets for you which you can use for free. I will show you how, and I have also created the graphics to follow along this tutorial. So let's start. Hey again, so let's create this simple eating game with a timer here in Effect House. Before we start creating the effect, please make sure that you have downloaded all the assets we need to create this effect. So please go to the description of this video, there you will find a download link. When you click on it, you will end up here on this Dropbox page, and here just click on download. After the download is done, please just open the folder you have just downloaded. Inside you will find two folders, the subgraphs and the textures. In the textures there will be 5 PNG files which we need to create our UI for this effect. If you want to create your own graphics, I have also created a FIGMA template for you, so just go to the description again and there you will find the link to the FIGMA template. And this is how the FIGMA template looks. So we have the scoreboard, the timer and the game over, and also the 2 objects. But of course you can create those assets in any other software like Photoshop, Illustrator or Canva. The second folder is the subgraphs folder. Inside of it you will find 3 subgraphs. Those are pre-made programming blocks we can just use in this effect. I have created those subgraphs for you, so it makes it very simple to create this effect. So now just drag and drop the 3 subgraphs into your project, into the assets panel, and also the 5 textures. So just select it and then just drag and drop it into the assets panel. After the import of the assets is done, we can start creating the effect here. The first thing is that I will start to set up our user interface for this effect. So I will set up the objects which will fall down here on the screen, and also the scoreboard and the timer and the game over screen. So for this we go to our scene panel on the left hand side, and here we just click on add object. We will work with 2D objects for this project, so go to 2D and then create a 2D scene object. This is more or less a folder for 2D objects, and this will be the folder for our objects which will fall down. So I will rename this 2D scene object. So right click on it and click on rename. I will call this objects. Then again go to add objects, 2D, and now create a screen image. This will be the screen image for the element which will fall down on the screen. So I will just rename this screen image to object 1. Now please make sure that this screen image is inside of our object's screen object. So now this should look like this. So there is a little arrow now, so you can open and close this object. So now we will change the size of this screen image. So select the object 1 screen image, go to the right hand side, and now I will change the size, the height, from 1280 to 720. Then I will go to scale 2D, activate this chain here, and then I will set the X of this scale to 0.3. Because the chain is on, also the Y is changing with the X. So now I will change also the texture of this image. So go down to texture, click here on default texture, and then select one of the objects. So now we have already this cookie in the middle of our screen. So let's move on to the user interface. For this, I will also create a 2D scene object. So go to add object, 2D scene object. This I will rename to UI. And now I will also create another 2D screen image. So 2D screen image. Then just drag and drop it again into the UI scene object. So it's also like a folder. and then I will rename this screen image to, let's say, scoreboard. Now I will do the same with this in the inspector panel. So select it, go to the right hand side, then change the size to 720. You don't have to do this, but for me it's more easy to work in my projects, and also set the scale to, let's say, 0.5. Now go down to texture and set the texture to the scoreboard PNG file. Now this is in the middle of our screen. We don't want it, so we will want to have it a little bit higher. So for this we have to change the position of this object, the Y position, and I will set this to, let's say, 250, a little bit higher, maybe 350 or 450. This is a little bit too high, so maybe 400. This looks good to me. So now we also need a text on our score. So for this we go also to our scene and click on Add Object. Now we go again to 2D. And here we select the 2D text element. Now we can see a text in the middle, and we also want to have this text element in our UI folder. So also drag and drop this into UI, but please make sure that it is underneath the scoreboard object. Now we want to overlay the text. So select the text element, go to the right hand side, and now change the Y position to also 400. It's a little bit too high, maybe 380. This looks good to me. So now before we create another UI element, I want to start moving this object in the middle of our screen so that there is already some movement going on. And I will also add the interaction here that this score goes up. So now we will use the subgraphs we have downloaded. So go to the left hand side to the assets panel and search for the object controller subgraph, and now just drag and drop it into your visual scripting panel. This is blue note here, and this is a pre-programmed program more or less, which I have already programmed. When you double click on it, you can see what's inside of it, but you don't have to care what's inside of it. I will just explain to you how you can use this blue node for this filter, how you can use this for your effect. So let's take a closer look at this object controller node. Here we have a start input, a scene object input, a start delay, a speed, and a sensitivity. Everything is set to 0, and there is also no scene object. I will change this scene object now to our object 1. So just click on it and here select object 1. Start delay, I will leave this at 0, and for the speed, this is the higher the number is, the slower the objects are. So this is measured in seconds, how long this object takes from the top of the screen to the bottom of the screen. So I will set this to, let's say, 2 seconds. And then we have the sensitivity. This is how sensitive it should be, so the area where it can be collected, so around my mouth. So I will set this to 50, but of course we can change this later. And now we also need a start trigger, so this object controller starts to work. I want to start it with a tab. So for this we go to Add Node here in our visual scripting panel, and here we search for Screen tab. Now we have the screen node, and here we can just connect the next output with the start input of the object controller. And now when we tap on our screen, the cookie should already start falling down. But now when I restart the filter, the cookie is still in the middle of our screen. We don't want this, so we have to set the default position above here of our screen. So go to your scene panel, select the object 1 object, go to the position, to the Y position, and let's say set it to, let's say, 700. It's not outside the screen. 800, this should be enough that it isn't visible anymore. And now when I tap on the screen, still the object starts falling. And now you can see you can already eat this cookie. So, and this is the magic about subgraphs. When you go inside of it again, you can see that here everything is handled with the eating. So we have here this face info, which gives us the position of the face and also gives us here a signal if the mouth is open or not. So when you want to dive more into the programming, just take a look here of the into this object controller. But now back to our visual scripting. We can already eat our cookie, and now when we have eaten the cookie, the score should go up 1 point. So to do this, we have also a score system subgraph in our assets panel. We can also just drag and drop into our visual scripting panel. Now we have this blue node here, and now here the object controller has a cached output, and we can now just connect the cached output with the increase input of our score system. Now the score system also needs a scene object. For this we will of course select the 2D text we have created. I will also rename this 2D text now to, let's say, score. And now the text has changed to 0. And now again, when we now start this, we can already eat the cookies and the score is going up. Now the cookie will start for infinite time, but of course we want to limit this time to, let's say, 30 seconds, and after 30 seconds this game should show us the game over screen. So now let's start to work on the timer. The first thing is that we will add UI element here for the timer, so we know during the game how much time we have left. So again, go to your scene, click on add object, and here go again to screen image. This will be the same like the scoreboard and the score. Now we will have the timer and the time. So after you have created the screen image, please make sure again that it is inside of the UI screen object, and then rename it to timer so you don't get confused. Then select the timer object, go to the right hand side and set the texture to timer. Now this is pretty big, so go to your scale 2D, activate the chain and set this also to 0.5. Looks good to me, and now you can move it up with the Y position to, let's say, 300, a little bit too high, 280, 280, also too high, 250. This looks good to me. A little bit too big both, but of course you can just change everything here with the 2D scale. Now you can set it to 0.3, but I will leave it to 0.5. So it is big and we can all see the elements. Then I want to also add some text to this timer. So go to your scene panel again, click on add object, and then also create another 2D text element. Now make sure the 2D text is inside of the UI scene object, and now rename it to time. So now we have this text here, and we don't have to set the position here with the values. We can also go to the scene in the middle and now just drag and drop it here. But now when we have the text over our timer, it will disappear because it is also white. To change the color, just go to the right hand side and here you will find a color property. And you can also change the size of the text here in the inspector. Above the color property you will also find a size. I will change this to 50 and this looks pretty good to me. So now to make the timer work, go again to the assets bundle, and here you will find a timer subgraph. For this, just drag and drop it into the visual scripting, and then we will find also another blue node which is named timer here in our visual scripting panel. Now this has also 3 inputs: start, duration and timer text. Now we can set the timer text. This will be of course our time here we have just created. And the start will also be with the screen tab. Now we have just one problem, that we can just connect one output to one input. So we will need a node which will split up this signal. So for this, just grab your output of the screen tab, then release it, and here we will just search for a sequence node. And now we can connect more inputs. So this will go to the timer start, and this will go to the object controller start. And now we can also change the duration, let's say to 10 seconds here for this video, but of course you can set it to 20 or to 30. Now the time is 10, and now when we tap on the screen, the objects will start falling, and also the time will count down. When the timer is finished, we want to stop the falling, and we want also to see the game over panel, and we don't want to see this score and this time panel. So let's do this here in the visual scripting. To do this, we also need a sequence node again. So go to add node here in the visual scripting and search for sequence. Now we will connect the finished output of the timer to the enter input of the sequence. And here the first output of the sequence will go to the game over of the score system. And the second output, this will control our visibility of all our objects here. So we want to set the visibility off for the scoreboard, the score and the time. For this, just drag the second output of the sequence node, and here search for set visibility. We want to set the visibility of the whole UI, because we can create a second scene object for the game over screen. So this UI will go away. So visibility is off. Now when we tap on the screen, wait the 10 seconds, this UI will go away, but the object is still falling. So we also have to change the visibility of the object. So again, for this, just drag the next output of the set visibility and search for another set visibility node. Here the target will be our objects, and the visibility will be also off. Now we have to create our game over UI. For this, go to your scene object, click on add object, and here search for the 2D scene object. I will rename this to game over UI. And then again, we go to add object. We will add another 2D screen image, drag and drop it into the game over UI and rename it to game over scoreboard. Then go to the right hand side and set the texture of this element to game over. Now it's a little bit too big again. So go to the scale 2D, activate the chain and set this to 0.6. So it's a little bit bigger than the other scoreboard. Now, of course, we also need a text to show our score. So go to add object again and create a 2D text element. Now also again, drag and drop it into the game over UI, but please make sure it is underneath the game over scoreboard. And I will rename this to game over score. So now you can of course change the position and the size and the color of the text and the scoreboard, but I will just leave it like this. So at the beginning, this game over UI should not be visible. So we can just change this here in our scene. So here is a little checkbox next to our game over UI, and we can just set the visibility off. But we want to set it on when the game is over. So we have to create another set visibility. So drag the next output and here search for set visibility again. Set the target to the game over UI. And here it is important that you check this checkbox so the visibility is on. So now we can just play our game. And after 10 seconds, the game over scoreboard is visible. At the moment it just says text because we have to give it our value of the score. So for this, select the game over score element in your scene and go to the right hand side. Here you can find the text property, and next to the text property there is a little circle. When you click on it, you can see set text. Just click this and now you will find this blue node in your visual scripting panel. Now we have to connect the next output of the set visibility to the enter input of the set text. And when you go to the blue score system subgraph, you see that there is a score output. Now just connect the score output to the value input of the set text. And now when we play our game again, at the moment, there is just one object, but we will add another one in a minute. So now we see game over 4. And this is more or less how you create a simple eating game with a timer. But now I will just show you how you can add a second object falling down, or even a third, or even more. So you can just do this multiple times. So I will restart my filter and now we will add a second object falling down. For this we go to our scene first and then duplicate our object 1 in the objects scene object. So just duplicate it and I will rename this to object 2. I have a second texture for my object, so I will go to the right hand side and set the texture of this to object 2. Now we need another object controller subgraph. So again, just drag and drop it from the assets panel and here you have a second object controller. Now for this we want to control the scene object 2. Now it has also a start delay of 1 second and the speed will be 2 and the sensitivity will also be 15. Now we also have, of course, start this object controller. So the first object controller has a next output and just connect this next output to the start input. And now we also have to connect the catched output to the score system increase input. And now we have, when we tap on the screen, 2 objects falling down. Now we can just play around, add another object, change the speed, change here the duration of the game, and also change the sensitivity of the catching mechanism. I hope this tutorial was helpful for you. If yes, give this video a thumbs up, and if you're new on this channel, it would be nice when you subscribe to it so you don't miss any new tutorials I will upload to this channel. So thanks for watching and see you in the next video. Bye!